to seek comfort, to seek the love of family and acceptance without judgment and retaliation. And then last week we talked about our words, and that our words are powerful. Our words are weighty. Our words, speak life or speak death. And so that set us up for an awesome Sunday today, because we're going to talk about how we deal with conflict. That's all great to make sure my house is nice and peaceful and stuff, Pastor Mike. It's all great to tell me how I should talk to everybody. But what about when they wrong me? What about when they don't do what I want them to do? What about when my wife fixes something that I don't like and tells me I got to eat it anyway or I'm going to starve? We got all this conflict in our life. What about when you didn't get that promotion? What about when you got that bad grade on that test or you got in trouble for something you didn't do? We've all been there. It doesn't matter the age or the size. We've all been there. We've all had conflict. So I need one person. I want a middle school student. Can I get one? We hardly have our middle schoolers up here. Any middle schoolers in here? Where you all at? Who's hiding? Lily. Lily. Lily, we're just going to play a game. It's all right. All right, Lily, hold this. 1 second. Let's make sure I don't ruin the whole visual by messing this up. Somebody laughed. Yeah. That's the hardest part of it all. Lily. Yes. Have you ever played this game? You're acting like you're a professional. Like you know what you're doing. All right. Very confident up here. I like that. So, what I want you to do is if you know how to play, then I want you to just grab one from the bottom and you got to put one at the top, right? What are you doing? You sure that's the right one? What are you doing? Which one are you grabbing? That one right there? You sure? Oh, wow. You know what you're doing. All right. Well, we're going to skip my turn. You get to do it again. That's how gracious I am. So how was school? Has your mom been nice to you lately?
I don't know.
You don't know? Oh. Angie, you been mean to her? No. Go ahead, Lily. Let's see what you got. Lily.
Oh, God.
Lily, I thought you said you were good at this game. What happened?
Shook the table.
I shook the table. Listen, you're blaming me. That's not wrong. I'm a pastor. You're blaming daughter's blaming the pastor. Lily did good. Thank you. So, guys. So, Jenga. I've never played Jenga. Thankfully, we have an awesome community that we live in, because at 9 o'clock, I got the idea of a sermon illustration. I'm like, I don't have Jenga. And so we got on Carrie got on the Facebook community thing and said, hey, anybody got Jenga? And somebody offered it up, and so thankful for our community. But what I want you to understand is that our need to know today for our kids is it's up to me. It's up to you. It's up to me. So I asked Lily to come up here, and it was up to her, right, which one of these blocks that she chose to pull from, right? That's the idea of the game. Pull a block from the bottom and move it to the top without knocking it over. But what she couldn't account for is the disruptions. Me talking to her, me asking her questions, and her accusation that I shook the table. There are things in our life that we can't control. But guess what you can control? You can control our responses. We can control what we say. We can control what we do. You can't worry about all the other mess and all the other crazy things that I might do up here, but you can worry about yourself and putting your best foot forward and moving forward. So if you're part of Faith Builders, we're going to line you up center, right here in the center. If you're part of Unplugged, get you over here. And we'll let our youth leave the room. Lily, you made a mess up here. So, there is nothing easy about this life of Christianity, is there? Nothing's guaranteed. Nothing is for sure. I said in first service, like that is the scariest thing when you're trying to talk to somebody about coming to Christ and say, hey, listen, this Jesus Christ is awesome and things are amazing and it goes great, but you know what? You will have trouble, right? In this world, you will have trouble, what we find in John 16:33. So what's so joyful about walking this path where he says there's going to be trouble? I mean, there's no magical formula that as soon as you were baptized, as soon as you received Christ, as soon as you were surrendered to the cross, that every day you step out those doors, that it's all going to go great. If you are, please meet with me after the service. Tell me how you're doing it, because I need pointers. Because my life is not like that. My work life is not like that. My life with my family is not like that. My life with my wife is complicated. My life as a Mountaineers fan is complicated. Harry, that's for you. That's... I didn't even watch. I turned it on late. Life is complicated. Life is hard. So what's this great thing about following Christ if he already tells me it's going to be hard anyway? Because he wants something better for you. He wants you to change your perspective. He wants you to change your focus. He wants you not to focus on all the noise and the distractions and the shaking and the rumbling and the words and the negativity and the falsehoods and the lies and the deceit and the anger and the hate. He wants you to focus on the peace and the joy and the love that he provides through the fruits of the Spirit. Whether it's those work conflicts or those school conflicts. I mean, think about that. Reflect on that for a second. Think about some of the things that you are dealing with right now as you woke up this morning. It could be as simple as getting your kids up. That is one of the most complicated things in my household. My older children are great. Every now and then I got to go check on them and make sure they got up. But those daggone babies, they don't get up. And then when they get up, it's like constant whining. I'm so thankful that I have to be at work early because I'm up just in time to hear a little bit of it, but then hey, I got to go. Love you guys. I'll see you later. Don't miss the bus. Honey, I love you. I'll see you after work. And then I'll leave, and then I do hear about it later. But you reflect on those things and reflect on your marriages. Reflect on your relationship at work. When people just don't do what you think they should do. Think of the conflicts that you have. I mean, listen, I'm a policeman. Everybody should do what I tell them to do. Should, or you leave it in handcuffs. I mean, that's the cool thing. I mean, listen, you don't do what I want you to do, I'm just going to take you with me, and we're just going to figure this out later. It's going to be more reasonable. But then think of the conflict that I have when I go home. So maybe some of you are just like that. You're in a place of authority at work. Like you're the boss. You say something, and people start marching and start moving. And then you go home. And now you're not supervisor. Now you're dad. Now you're mom. Now your husband, now your wife. And sometimes that's a hard thing to leave at the door of your sanctuary, and you walk in and you start issuing orders. And you start issuing, your responses are more like some things you would say at work that aren't as soft and not as loving and not as caring, not as teaching, but more directive. And our kids start seeing that. Our spouses start feeling that. And then we wonder why our houses are not our sanctuary. Because we are not choosing what is right. We are not choosing good responses. We're not building up. I mean, listen, I left here conflicted last Sunday. Listen to what Pastor Mike was saying about our words, and I know better. But listen, things that come out of this mouth aren't always the greatest. There's some long days at work, and you get home, and you're frustrated, and you're tired. And this has to get done, and that's got to get done. And you're trying to do this, and my kids are lazy, and they're laying there. How come they get to lay around, but I got to get up and go do this? And so then dad gets angry, and dad gets mad, and dad starts being mean just to be mean. Because if I'm not having a good day, everybody's going to have a bad day. It's more so for women. I mean, that's definitely not men. We don't operate like that. That's definitely ladies. But isn't it true? And what about this? I thought about this as I was writing this and as I was thinking about it, is sometimes things are just too good that we just need to throw a little conflict in there. Isn't that how it is? Sometimes things are just going way too smooth, and you're like, man, we got to shake this up a little bit. I will own that. I am one of those guys. Like, I will pick just to pick. I know how far to pick though, so I've learned over the years. I'll pick who I'm picking on, but I'll push just as far. But I know that I've pushed too hard at times. I'm sorry, honey. I do it at work. Like now, I went from working in a police station to working with a whole bunch of teachers. I love you teachers, but now's my opportunity to pick on you guys. Sometimes you guys have spent way too long in the classroom. And so then a police officer comes on and just starts poking and picking and acting like I know what I'm doing, and I don't know what I'm doing. I just fake it really well. And I have a couple friends at the school that are like, you really don't have anything in this, do you? You don't even know what you're talking about. No, don't. I'm just doing it to do it. Because I think it's fun. It's not right. I do it out of humor. But I started thinking about that little analogy. Some of us are too comfortable with conflict that we honestly aren't comfortable unless there is conflict. When things are too good, we try to pick things to make it bad, to rock it up, to change it up. And if you went back and really looked at it, I mean, this is not what God designed for us, is it? He didn't create everything and say, I want it to be conflicted. I want it to be chaotic. I want it to be shaky. I want them to be confused. I want them to feel these certain feelings. No, he created everything, and it was what? It was good. In the beginning, he created it, and it was good. You ever wonder why you can't get along with a woman, fellas? This is a man's perspective, ladies. I'm sorry. Ladies, you ever wonder why you can't get along with us? Because a long time ago, we decided to start thinking for ourselves. And when we took that fruit from that tree, and we took that bite out of that fruit that we were told not to eat, one of the consequences to our sin was to add that conflict to men and women for the rest of our lives. When I close out today, I want you to hear that last proverb that I tell you that tells you about understanding and knowledge. That's part of the knowledge to know where it came from so that you can be cognizant of it so you can try to get around it and avoid it and meet it head on and get over it. Because it's just one of the natural consequences of our sin. That is one of the sins that God said would happen. And so we are conflicted all the time with one another. And like marriage is one of the hardest things you could, outside of parenting, marriage is one of the hardest things. There's nothing easy about that walk because it's two separate people coming together that honestly we're just so different. So there's conflict. And so we find in Genesis 1 where everything was so good and God made this great thing and made this great earth and then he made all the things in it and then he decided to make you and me and there we are. And then there's sin brought into the picture and then 4 short chapters later we find conflict come to arise. That big book that you hardly pick up. 4 chapters into it, we see conflict and death. Conflict and death. And it's saddening. So in Genesis 4, verses 2 through 8, I'll share it with you. It's a story of Cain and Abel, the first 2 sons of Adam and Eve. Cain and Abel, I mean, even though there's really not a lot of people to be fighting with right now, except each other. You ever think that, like, why can't your kids just get along?